breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, my co-host, the man across the screen, Dr. Glenn Harrison. So this is something that we see all the time in our practices, and it has a really profound impact on people that suffer from this. We've both seen it personally, and it's something we felt like we wanted to address today. But before we get started on that, I have to ask you, because I'm colorblind, is that shirt purple or pink?
Same color as my pen, Dr. Goldman.
See, that's not a good answer, too.
No, it's not pink. It is. It's. I don't know what it is. It's
lavender.
It's lavender. There we go. It's lavender. Yeah, it's lavender.
Or as my father-in-law would say, lavender.
Yeah. But on a more of a serious note, this topic is. It was interesting how we stumbled upon this topic when we were discussing and talking about topics, and it's one of those things that people never realize that that making changes could actually compromise their relationships. Making health changes could actually improving their health could create adverse effects in their relationships, and it really blew my mind.
Yeah, I think that when we talked about this, it was something that was kind of like that aha moment for us too, right? Because most of the time when we come up with these topic ideas, it's something that we've experienced either in practice or our personal life. And for me, what it was is, it's something that has hit us on a personal level that we maybe didn't consider before, right? Mm-hmm. You always think about people that are like, falling falling out of health, right? So they're becoming more ill, they're becoming more sick, and how that impacts their relationship with their loved ones. When all of a sudden the loved one has to take on an increased caretaker role, they're less of a spouse and more of a caretaker. Right. They're less of a parent or child, and they're more of a caregiver. Like, it has the ability to affect this dynamic in the relationship really substantially. But then we also looked at the other side of it, like you were talking about. We look at someone who maybe they were in similar health situations. They're both maybe a little bit overweight. They weren't making the best dietary choices. They weren't exercising, whatever. One member becomes really motivated. They start exercising, they start dieting, lose a bunch of weight, get more fit. And then all of a sudden that has adverse effects that go into the relationship, as far as like one feels like there's inequality in the relationship.
Yeah, people outgrow one another, and that's kind of how I was able to figure it out. Now, actually, I talk to my clients before, especially if even if they're showing up in the office by themselves or as couples. I always have this conversation. I never ever thought I'd have to have it, but I always tell them that these transformations that you're going to go through, you can outgrow your spouse. And outgrow in a healthy way, kind of like you're saying. Health affects everyone around. Our health, my health affects everyone around me. Your health affects everyone around you. And the simple way of putting that is, one way of putting it is, everybody on this planet, someone loves them, someone cares for them, and if their health goes downhill, the other parties, the other people that care for you, they are going to take on that burden. They're, like you said, the caretaker and all of that, and it's going to affect them indirectly, but it's going to affect them. And then the other layer you said is if someone is outgrowing someone's health, improving, and both people start in one spot and the other person starts, again, losing weight. We can talk about the aesthetics of that. That creates a confidence boost, maybe more socializing, on and on and on, and they outgrow their partner. And usually the problem is the partner that feels like they're left behind. They get insecurity is the root of all relationship problems.
It really put it just basically exactly how it is. That's something that I've actually implemented in my practice. I took that from you when we've discussed this, when we're not behind microphones and cameras. But when I discussed like how, the patient was having a lot of follow-through issues, but it wasn't necessarily for lack of effort on their part. It was lack of support by the partner. And it's either because the partner didn't perceive it as being valuable, or the partner didn't want them they didn't want them to have that inequality in the relationship.
So
you know
they
what I
held
mean?
back.
Yeah.
Because they were scared.
And I've seen that occasionally, not as much as you might think, but it is a possibility. So I think it's really important to, before you start going on these health journeys where you decide, you know, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, you know, if I'm pre-diabetic, I'm going to make this dietary change, right? Or whatever, that you talk with your partner, and express why you want to do it, because it's not necessary. Most of the time, most of us aren't going to do something. I mean, I don't think I've had anyone that walked into my office and goes, Doc, I want to lose like 40 pounds so I have 6-pack abs.
That's right.
Most people walk in and they go, I want to lose 40 pounds because I'm nervous. I have a familial history of cardiovascular disease. I have a history of diabetes. I want to be there for my kids.
Yeah, they're
like,
not.
It's not vanity most of the time.
That's right.
Most of the time it is health concerns.
That's
so
right.
having that really real conversation with your spouse is only going to set you up for success.
Mm-hmm. And what I was getting at before, and why this topic hits home with me so hard is I truly, you know, back in academia, I truly didn't appreciate how health could affect the people around you and your state of your emotional health, all of those things. In school, you know, it was pretty dark. I studied myself practically to death, turned into a pre-diabetic and then a diabetic, and then I had to struggle through that. Naturally, I was getting exhausted. I was depressed because all I did was study. There was no balance in my life, and I definitely wasn't the same person that you know I met my wife at the time, and that created scars that never actually healed. You know, that we ended up splitting up long after. So I truly can appreciate how declining health can put strain on a relationship, you know, whatever that strain is. But those characteristics will create a burden. And then the flip side of it is when we improve our health, there can also be that challenge which you were getting in. And it's because we outgrow one another. And it's not vanity. It's usually they're coming in because they're tired, they're exhausted, they're worried about their cardiovascular risk, whatever it is. And once they start healing up and feeling better, their bodies change, their confidence changes. And if the other party did not do something, they outgrow that person. And I have seen in my clinic, I have seen divorces. I've seen a lot of separations from this. And in fact, I just had a gentleman the other day come in, and, you know, we worked together, I don't know what it was, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. And he came in and he asked me, he said, you know, I got something going on. I'm having a hard time with my relationship. It's causing a lot of anxiety. He said, have you ever seen that? You know, there was never a problem. And now I've got all this energy. I'm able to do all of these things. And he was just like, he's on fire, this man. That was amazing from where he was. And he said, but my relationship's falling apart. And then I started to ask about it. He says, it just seems like and he said the words, it seems like I'm kind of like I have more things I want to do and more ambition. I feel like I'm 20 years old again. He's 65 or 67. And my wife isn't on the same page. And now she's getting, reducing her tolerance to me and getting frustrated with me and getting insecure. I don't know. Have you ever seen this, Dr. Harrison? I'm like, oh my goodness. I do. So they're going through some counseling right now, and I hope that can pull them out of it. So.
Well, and that might be I mean, we can maybe talk about this too in a different one, but I mean, maybe approaching that idea where it's like, look, I love you. I want to be with you. I want to spend all my time with you. Like, I want to live the longest life possible, the most healthy life possible, the highest quality of life possible. This is what I think that we need to do. What are your thoughts? Making it a team effort, that's where it might be super beneficial, because it does happen. I mean, it can be, we see it all the time where someone gets sick and then all of a sudden, you know, the other member of the relationship becomes a caregiver.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we sometimes think about the other side of the coin.
That's right.
Where
exactly
people
right.
are,
Like, yeah. Where someone is thriving in their health and they actually leave behind their partner feels left behind. And you know, I know we talked about this. So what are some strategies to prevent this? I don't know, maybe there's a psychological term for it, leaving your partner behind due to improving your health, outgrowing them somehow.
Yeah. The relationship inequalities. What can we do to prevent that? So I think approaching it as a team effort, right? Mm-hmm. So we talk a little bit about this. I talk about this with all my patients that are going to they're going to undertake pretty substantial goals or whatever improvement steps. You know, I'm like, this is going to be hard. You know, you're going to need to be a team to do that. You know, maybe like whether even dietary changes, a lot of time I'll be like, all right, so you guys are going to take this out of your diet. That doesn't just mean you guys might want to consider both of you taking it out.
That's right.
Because not only does that other member feel like they're involved, but they also feel like they're supporting it and the other person feels supported. So that's like that can be a team bonding or like a relationship building experience. I feel like maybe if you're going to do it, you might as well just do it together. You know what I mean? Set goals together.
That's right. The healthiest couples that I see, healthiest in their relationship, and I'm no relationship expert by no means, but the healthiest relationships I see is even if one person is going to go through all these transitions and go through this journey, the partner's like, yeah, I'll join in with you. Sometimes it's a husband, sometimes it's a wife. But when I see that, I'm like, wow, this couple is going to do awesome.
And it increases the outcomes for both. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Can you imagine how hard it would be? You know, me and you are trying to, we're going to get healthy, right? And I'm like, Dr. Glenn, I'm going to get really healthy. I'm going to eat only fruits, vegetables, lean organic protein for the next 30 days. And you're like, cool, I'll be sipping over here on my Mai Tai and eating this cheese pizza.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
How would that make me feel, right?
That's right.
And B, in the event that I actually improve, how would that make you feel?
Well, I would feel like you're leaving me behind. I would feel like, and what happens sometimes in relationships, you'll see one of the parties, they're like, oh, that's nonsense. They dismiss it because they're insecure and they want to rule out because they weren't willing to do it or want to do it. So, you know, maybe going into a little bit of some strategies, if people are going to make some, you know, to prevent this conflict in a relationship, to keep the relationship together, to keep it stable and strong, you said one thing is stepping into it together if they're going to make these journeys. And just to kind of elaborate on this, if some of the people are listening, or majority of the people are listening that we didn't work with, when we see clients and they come into our clinics and they're like, they're like, thumbs up, let's do this. I've got some serious stuff going on. I want to get past it. Their lives drastically change. Their physique drastically changes. I know you can go on my website. You will see people that it's hard to recognize some of them on the website. That's how massive their physique changes, and their health and their motivation and their confidence and so on and so forth. So you never want to leave your partner too far from it. So I know you do that, Dr. Kolby, and I do it as well, as having the conversation. If you're going to go into this, here are some obstacles. Let's look at those obstacles and challenges before they are a problem. So getting them to go into it together. So if I have a couple come into my office, but only one person is go through the program, I try to set them up and say, hey, you guys are going to do better if you're both in it together, one way or another, at least partially or for all
even
the
if
reasons.
You just do the diet or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have some skin in the game, right?
So I think that's one major way of preventing it. Another way, I know we talked about this and I touched on a little bit, is preparing for change before, getting your mind ready for change before you change. I know of people that are very, very sick, and I know you do, Dr. Kolby as well, where this lady came in today and she said, I don't know what it'll be like when I have energy to engage in life. It makes me nervous. Now her life was going to change after 30 years. There was going to be changes because she's just watching life pass her. So people, when they get into these changes, they get very anxious. We did a podcast on anxiety, which you can find in the display in the display notes of this podcast. But change creates anxiety, and if people are able to get some counseling ahead of time before going through these health transitions to prepare themselves as a relationship, but also to prepare for that change, I think that's another layer that'll keep them secure as a couple.
Yep. I think that one of the bigger ones too for us is like, I always encourage the other member of the other member of the relationship to come to all the appointments, right? Yeah. Father, son, wife, daughter.
That's right.
Spouse, whatever. Right. So it's like they can see the improvement. They feel like they've been validated in helping this person on their journey to wherever we're trying to get, and they feel involved in it. So I think that that's really, really a good thing.
Yeah, because these people going through these changes, if they're by themselves and they have a support team with them, they don't feel as isolated because it's scary. It's even reading lab work. People come into my office, they don't want to read the lab work by themselves. They got family coming in. I didn't even realize why. And I was like, they don't know what they're going to see. That's scary as all heck. So Yeah, definitely. Going through these transitions, having somebody else being with you, especially your significant other, will solidify everything. Because the worst thing we want is someone going through all of this health and making all this growth, and then their lifelong partner,
They don't enjoy it together, right?
it ends.
Yeah.
And I've seen more divorces and breakups than most things in my office, and it's sad. I never thought I would see that in clinic. But there's a flip side to this, and
I was just gonna say, it's been doom and gloom, man.
yeah,
Come
let's
on,
get
don't
past
we
the doom and gloom. There's a flip side to this. I have had couples where they would come in, and I know you as well, Dr. Kolby, have seen things like this, where there's one person very, very sick, and then there's one person that their health is pretty good, and their relationship isn't getting to the next level, whatever it is, whatever it is. Usually it's a couple that were both had their health, and then one person started to decline. And then now there's that dynamic. It isn't that one person outgrew the other. It's one person is falling back.
Mm-hmm.
And then their relationship can't go to the next level. For example, I've worked with a couple where the husband, he always wanted to go fishing, and they used to go fishing together. They used to go up in the mountains and go fishing together. But as her health started to fail, and she had all these digestive issues, she couldn't go anywhere with him. So now he is by himself. He resented it. The one thing that they loved, that they really, really cherished as a thing that they did together, now they couldn't. So now there was a strain on the relationship, and another strain and another strain. I've seen it with young couples. So when that lady started to decline, when we were able to get her health back up and her digestion started to improve, this lady was having 5 to 7 bowel movements a day, urgent bowel movements, and we're talking 30 years. 30 years. She couldn't go to the grocery store because she had to know where the washrooms were right away. It affected every aspect in life. They couldn't even drive in the mountains. The biggest thing for her was to build the confidence that she could go for a drive down the street. And she was able to. So what happened in that relationship once she was able to do that? They were doing things that they did when they were in their 20s. It was exciting. It was exciting. It was so exciting. I would see them come into the office. They'd be joking around and teasing each other. It was like a young couple. It really, really was nice to see. And then one that I wanted to touch on here was another one was a younger couple, and they were, they were dating, and everything was good. And she had some health issues, and it was going good, but you could tell that, I don't know. I didn't see a problem with it, but the moment her health improved, there was an engagement. He proposed to her, and that's a few years back ago. And, it was really exciting. And then he even told me, he said he had his girl back.
That's awesome, man. That's super awesome.
So I think if anything, this podcast and this video cast, however anybody's listening or watching to it, don't underestimate the power of your health, how it affects people around you for the good or the bad. Because when our health changes, it will change those dynamics, those relationships, and it can result in a very, very bad outcome in relationships, or it can really enhance it. But it has to be done safely with structure and some foresight.
Yep, can cause great joy or great sorrow, right? Depending on if you're prepared or not. So if you guys got value out of this podcast /videocast and you would like to get a hold of us, our email is info@brainstormingwiththedocs.com. You can get on our website, which is www.northlakeschiropractic.com. Dr. Glenn's is www.drgharrison.com. Or you can get on the YouTube channel, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, and we have a list of podcasts on there.
Google
and a whole
podcast.
Yeah, Google Podcast, it's everywhere. Yeah. We have a ton of topics, a ton of varieties. If there's something that we haven't done and you'd like us to, shoot us an email, and we'll add it to the queue. And till next time, man.
Yeah, that was great.
We'll do another one. Have a great evening.
Sure. You too. Bye-bye.